As promised in the last video, here's a whole video explaining what's been going on with my grandma. And if you missed the last video, I briefly explained that my grandma has been in the hospital for over a week now. We had a huge scare where we thought she was almost certainly going to die, but let me first explain everything that led up to that. Basically, my grandma has had a cough since I'd say probably January or February of 2018. We noticed that she developed this cough that didn't seem to go away. And at first it wasn't that alarming. It was just a regular cough. It didn't exactly get in the way of things, or it wasn't like she was coughing up blood. She wasn't even coughing up phlegm either. It was just a dry, ugly cough. Well, not even really ugly. It was just a regular cough she had. And it stayed like that for a while, and we noticed as the months went by, this cough was not going away. And my mom and my uncle kept urging her to see the doctor. There is something wrong. It is not normal to have a cough for months on end. But she didn't want to go. She's the kind of person that doesn't really believe in doctors. She's like, oh, this will pass. I'll get better on my own. A lot of older people think like this. They're stubborn like that. But then a year passed and this cough was still there. So she was like, yep, I'll get this checked out. I'll do what you want me to do. And at first, the doctor wasn't really that concerned. They gave her medication in hopes for the cough to go away, and she took this medication, no change. She still had this cough. It wasn't getting better, but it wasn't getting worse either. It was just still the same dry, normal cough she's had for a year at that point. And then she started seeing more and more doctors about this. They still said, it's nothing serious. They kept giving her medicine for this, and no change. Jump to this year, doctors started checking her out, and they're like, oh, it's bronchitis. This is around January of this year, I think. It's bronchitis. We did what we had to do. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact procedure she had done, but the doctor said we did what we had to do, and just keep coughing. It's actually a good thing that you're coughing because it'll get out of your system. A few months later, nothing happened. And at this point, the cough was actually getting noticeably worse. She started having these really violent coughing fits where she can't even really control herself. She just goes into this huge coughing fit. She can't talk. She can't really breathe all that much when she's having these violent coughing fits. And it could last upwards for like a minute to even 10 minutes sometimes when it was at its most severe. And we're like, yeah, this is getting worse. She really needs to be checked. And it especially started getting worse around, I'd say, June, where she started heaving while coughing. Sometimes she'd be out of breath while coughing. She would cough up phlegm, and we're like, yeah, there's something really wrong here. So she finally got admitted to the hospital, and this isn't the start of when she started being in the hospital for a week. This is still like June or July. She only had a little checkup, and she had these checkups periodically throughout the summer, and then cut to just a week and a half ago. She has an appointment to have a procedure done where they see exactly what is wrong with her lungs, why she's having this cough, and why the cough is getting worse, and hopefully they're going to do what they can do to get rid of what is causing this cough. Turns out she has tuberculosis. It advanced really quickly, causing the cough to get really bad in the weeks leading up to this procedure, and they said, yeah, originally we were going to just keep her for the day. She wasn't even going to stay the night. But, well, she might have stayed the night. Originally, her little procedure was scheduled for, like, 1 in the afternoon, but then she called us at, like, fucking 5 in the afternoon, and she said, yeah, I'm still waiting for this procedure to be done, so maybe she would have had to stay overnight if things went normally. But no, the doctors were actually very concerned about what they found. The tuberculosis advanced. She had a lot of mass in her lung, and it turns out she was living on one lung for a long time, and that one lung was still badly damaged from all the mass that was growing in her lung. It's not cancerous again, it was tuberculosis, but it was still very, very concerning, and they had to get this mass removed. So, they tell us, instead of her staying for the night, she's going to have to stay for at least a week in the hospital, because we have to do this serious procedure on her. She needs some time to recover, and should be back by next Friday. And obviously, it's not next Friday anymore. It's way past next Friday, and she's still in the hospital because on Saturday, the day after that, after we visited her in the hospital, we had a huge scare because my grandmother, her airway was being blocked by this tuberculosis, and she needed to be put on a ventilator. And of course, this is horrifying because, you know, it's depicted a lot in movies, and I'm sure some of you probably had loved ones who died while on a after being taken off a ventilator. You know, it was scary because ventilators, but are viewed by most people as, you know, the things are put on before you die. You know, when you're put on a ventilator, there's little to no hope of someone surviving, and we're like, yep, this is probably it. She needs to be put on a ventilator. She can't breathe on her own anymore. This is exactly what happened to Joe, the old man who died 8 years ago in 2012. He was put on a ventilator right before he died, before he was taken off life support. But, yeah, we thought this was the end. But, you know, we called the doctor, and the doctor said, no, there are plenty of people who are put on ventilators, and they come out just fine. A ventilator isn't a death sentence, and that kind of sort of reassured us. But then we got a very scary call, I'd say like an hour later, saying, we're trying to get the tube down her throat, but we can't, and we might have to do a procedure where we remove some mass earlier than we anticipated, earlier than the procedure they were supposed to do, and they didn't have all their team there because it was the weekend. I guess the team that would have done her procedure were off for the weekend. I don't know how it exactly works, and they said she might not get off the table during this emergency procedure. That is doctor lingo for she may die during the surgery. There's a good chance that she could die during this surgery. And of course, we all thought this was the end. We all started crying. I even took my mom upstairs away from my uncles, just crying into her shoulder, saying, I'm not ready to lose her. I pictured her being part of many pivotal moments of my life, you know? Like me graduating college, or me finding that special someone, a partner who I would like to share my life with. I expected her to witness all that. And the very thought of her not being around for many of those kind of moments in my life really tore me up, man. And it even brought me to March of this year, when a kind of sort of friend of mine, she's more of a friend, lost her grandmother. I only found out because she posted about it on Instagram, and it's maybe cold and fucked up to admit, but while I was, of course, sad for her, and felt really bad for her loss, I still thought, my grandmother is still here, and that makes me very happy. Especially considering the fact my grandmother outlived her grandmother by just a year. Her grandmother died at 80, and my grandmother was about to turn 81 at that point. Her grandmother turned 80 just in January or February, I think, and I'm like, my grandmother outlived this person's grandmother. And, you know, that kind of sort of made me a little happy, but then it was also a reminder that, you know, who knows for how much longer that she may be around. And cut to 5 months later, we're in this dire situation where she could very well die. And, of course, we all thought this was the end. We started reminiscing about memories we had with her. I even looked at a picture that we have in the living room of her holding me as a baby. And of course that choked me up so fucking much because she has been around for my whole life. She is like my second mother. And the thought of, you know, living life without her is something that I can't even fucking fathom. Like, it didn't even feel right to me. Losing a grandmother at age 19. I didn't expect something like this to happen until I was in, I don't know, my late 20s or my early 30s. You know, at the latest. I thought I'd be a full-grown adult, which I guess I am a full-grown adult right now. I'm 19, but, you know, a full-grown adult that's a productive member of society by the time that she passes on. I didn't expect this to happen before the age of 20, but alas, here we were, about to lose my grandmother, again at the age of 19. So we call my uncle from Jersey. He comes down. He is surprisingly unfazed by this. He's an odd fellow. We'll keep it at that. He was like, she'll be fine. She's gonna make it through this. She's beat cancer, which is true. She had cancer when I was a little kid, and she beat that. But then my other uncle, who lives with us, was like, but she's not 60 anymore. She's 81 years old now. It's really a coin toss if she's even gonna make it through this. But still, my uncle from Jersey was like, no, she'll make it through this. She'll be fine. You're just overreacting. She's been through a lot. And this is just another little obstacle in her life that she'll overcome. He had so much hope, and I really do commend him for that. He helped calm my nerves just a teeny tiny little bit, you know, not a whole lot, but still calmed my nerves a little bit, and then we called one of my cousins. She had COVID just a few months ago, so she kind of knows, how scary it is to be in the hospital, unsure if you're going to make it out of the hospital alive or not. And she was very comforting. It was nice having her there. She was telling us stories. She helped calm our nerves a little bit, while my uncle from Jersey and his wife went down, and my other uncle, I should say, went down to see my grandmother for potentially the last time and sign off on her. And, even though my uncle from Jersey still maintained a lot of hope, the rest of us were like, yep, this is the end. And while we were talking and worrying, my uncle got a phone call. And right now, his ringtone is the scariest fucking sound ever, because he is the first contact for the hospital. So if anything happens to her, any update, good or bad, he is the first one to receive it. And every time we hear his phone ringtone, we're like, just praying that things are gonna go well. And he got a call from the doctor. And initially he was just like, yeah, uh-huh. And I was like, please be good news. I mean, I know things are looking really bad right now, but please be good news. And then he said, so doctor, the surgery was a success? And then it felt like 16 million tons were taken off my chest. This is probably one of the, I don't even know if I want to say this is one of the best moments of my life, but one of the most relieving moments of my life. Thinking you're about to lose a loved one that you've known for your whole life. They're currently undergoing life or death surgery because they can't get a tube down her throat to put her on a ventilator. And then, against all odds, she made it through. And they didn't even have to do the emergency procedure. They were able to get the tube down her throat. So the hard part was averted. Did you fucking believe that? And then we started going on about how my grandmother is such a tough lady. And, she beat cancer head on. And, things were looking good. Until next, I'd say probably Tuesday, Wednesday, when we were out, my mom wanted to get Burger King. And then my uncle got a call from the hospital. And of course my mom stopped the car. She started praying. She started whispering, please God, please God, please God. And that didn't really help calm my nerves at all. Honestly, it made me even more nervous. Then we find out that she possibly has a blood clot in her lung because she's been lying down, sedated for days at this point. And, it was worry time again. They had to put her on blood thinners, and they're like, we'll see if her body reacts well to the blood thinners. And, we had to wait either a couple of hours or upwards to a few days. But I woke up the next day worried fucking sick. I was expecting, some horrible news when I woke up, but I was told, no, her blood pressure is under control. Blood thinners are working well so far. Obviously, things could happen and things could go south, but everything is looking good so far, and here we are. Things are still looking good so far. Now, she is by no means out of the woods. She is still sedated. She is still on a ventilator, but they're looking to remove her off of the ventilator within the next 3 days, and God fucking willing, everything goes well with that, and she's able to breathe on her own again. And they removed a lot of mass from her lung. That was another big scare. The whole big procedure she was supposed to get to remove a lot of the mass from her lung. They removed a lot of that, and her airway is clear. When she's off the ventilator, she can actually breathe normally again. She won't have the cough anymore. So when she comes back, God willing, if she comes back home, she will have a little portable breathing machine for a little bit, and she will have a traveling nurse look after her for a little bit, but that's only temporary. She is expected to get off that eventually, and she'll be able to live life normally again, talk, breathe finally, not cough. She'll be a new and improved, pretty much. And hopefully that happens, because you know, again, she's not out of the woods yet. Things could still happen, but God willing, everything goes well. I am still very worried, of course, because she's my grandmother, and she's not, like my uncle was saying, she's not 60. It's not like her body is that strong, but so far she's fighting her way through this, and hopefully she's able to get off her ventilator, recover in the hospital, then be sent home to recover a little more, and then hopefully within maybe a few months' time, or maybe a little less, who knows, she'll be back to normal again. That's the goal, that's the dream, and hopefully that's what's going to happen. Again, things are looking positive for her, but I gotta admit here, I really don't like how my family is handling this. Like, I understand this is a very scary time. She is technically in critical condition, quote-unquote, right now, even though, again, things are looking very positive, but still, she's definitely, this is still definitely a serious situation she's in. But anyways, I try to reassure myself that she will come home, she will be back to normal, she'll be the same person she was prior to all this happening. In fact, even better, because she won't have the cough anymore, and she'll be able to breathe, actually. But my family still says, God willing, we hope, we pray. That doesn't make me feel any better at all. Like, they still talk like it's the end, like she's not going to make it through this, like the doctors aren't optimistic, and that just helps make me, that just makes me not feel good at all. In fact, it even takes away a little bit of hope that I have that she'll make it through this just fine. I really hate how the fuck my family talks about it. And they say, oh, we're just being real, we're preparing for the worst. Like, everything is looking good right now. Like, the doctors aren't pessimistic about this at all. In fact, they're optimistic, and yet you still want to talk like she's gonna die. Like, I fucking hate that so much. It is so frustrating that everyone around me, aside from my uncle from Jersey, who is staying with us for the time being until she comes back home, everyone is like, yeah, this may still be the end. Even though they're not explicitly saying that, but they're still giving me the vibe that, they still think this is the end. And I fucking hate that so much. And my cousins have been so supportive. They've been coming by a lot. Even some cousins that I haven't seen in a long time have been coming by to show their support, to help us get through this very trying time. Times like this really make me appreciate that I do have a good support system. My cousins just visited earlier today, before me recording this. And we were talking. I was able to see my cousin, who was just a year older than me. I haven't seen her in, nearly a year. And it was nice seeing her again, but unfortunately, I went into the dining room to shut off the printer that my mom accidentally left on, and then I heard my uncle talking to my other uncle. Both of the uncles that live with me were talking to each other. My uncle from Jersey went to go visit my grandma, and he's still there currently at the time of me recording this. My uncle was talking like it was the end again. He was saying, look, you gotta understand, she's 80 years old, she's not 50, this is a big hurdle for her, things are still up in the air. And I was like, oh no, did he get a call while we were all talking in the kitchen? While me, my mom, and my cousins were talking in the kitchen, and that made me go, I wouldn't say in a deep depression, but it really, really soured me up, I guess. And I was quiet for the remainder of their time being here. And my mom noticed there was something visibly wrong while I was sitting at the table, because I wasn't talkative like I was prior to hearing my uncle's talk. And after my cousins left, I told her they were both of my uncles were talking like it's the end for my grandmother. And turns out my uncle, I've talked about this before, I made a whole video about this. He had another panic attack. He has anxiety issues, if you're not familiar and you didn't watch the whole video I made on him nearly a year ago. And he was apparently had a panic attack late at night. I didn't know. I was in my room. I was probably sleeping, or I don't know, using my computer while laying in bed. But yeah, this is starting to really hit him. Because when things were at its scariest and at its worst, when it looked like she was almost certainly going to die during that emergency procedure they had to do last Saturday, he was like, she'll be fine. Like my uncle from Jersey, he was like, she'll be fine. Like my grandmother wasn't going through anything serious right now, you know? Like, I don't know, she was going outside to take a walk, you know, doing something normal like that, which she did, actually, just a few weeks ago, like a week or two before she was admitted to the hospital. She wanted to get her hair done, and we live kind of sort of nearby a hair salon, and my grandmother was able to walk to and from the hair salon without any problem whatsoever, despite her having arthritis and, again, you know, the bad lungs and the cough and all. She was able to do that on her own, and my mother was urging and pleading her to let to let her take her to the hair salon, but no. She was like, no, I want to go on my own. And she went on her own, and my mother was worried sick, and my grandmother's little cell phone that she has, it's a little simple flip phone. She doesn't have anything fancy like an iPhone, because of course she doesn't know how to use one. But anyways, my mother was calling her to see if she's okay, and she wasn't answering. Turns out her cell phone was dead, and my mother was panicking. And then my grandmother comes in through the backyard, just fine, with a new hairstyle. Well, not a new hairstyle, her hair was trimmed. And she looked good. And that gives me a little bit of hope that, a little bit more hope than I already have, that she'll be fine. But yeah, my uncle was acting like, you know, it was something mundane like that, and she wasn't about to go through an emergency life or death procedure. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. Thank you for listening to all this, and Jesus Christ, I did this all in one fucking take. Easily the longest I've went talking without needing to do a retake. Holy shit, 21 minutes. But yeah, anyways. That's everything that's been going on. Again, my grandmother is not okay. She's still on the blood thinners. They're looking to remove her off the ventilator, and we're hoping that goes well. And hopefully everything does go well. Theoretically, things could still very well go south, but this is the longest period of time we went without a scare. It's been a few days since she was put on the blood thinners, and her body is having a positive reaction. And the doctors call my uncle every morning saying there's no change, which is, of course, good news. She's not declining, but she's not getting better either, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they say she's good, and when my uncles visit her, they say she looks good. She's even moving her mouth, despite being sedated, so that's also really good. Her chest is going up and down, so she's still able to breathe on her own. So again, things are looking on the up and up, but I really do hope things stay like that, and I hope I'm able to see my grandmother again in person, God willing, and talk to her and play with her hair and play with her arms. She has very squishy arms that I love to squeeze. I know it annoys the shit out of her, but it makes me laugh, and, you know, she likes to play with my hair, too, to get back at me. We have a weird relationship like that. You probably think it's really fucking strange, but you know what, that's just how me and my grandmother are. That's our relationship since I was a little baby. Here's to many more years for my grandmother, and here's to her going through all this with ease. Hopefully. God willing. I pray for her, you know, despite being an agnostic. Can barely talk. I should really wrap this up now. But yeah, I pray for her. Do all these things that I never in a million fucking years imagined myself doing, but I still do anyway, because she's my grandmother, and I'll do anything to send positive vibes her way, or potentially reach out to some kind of being that may be watching over us. Who knows? But anyways, cherish your grandparents while you can. You never know when things like this could happen. And cherish everyone in your life while you're at it, while you still can, because one day they could be here, and the next they could be gone, or or they could be in the hospital in a critical condition where they can't even speak to you. So again, I'll reiterate, cherish those you love while you still can. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.